Listen, I don't have much time, but I have to share my story with you. It's my duty to share my experience to warn others about the dangers of disrespecting the undead. But what's more urgent is that I need your help. It all happened about a decade ago on a typical Friday night when my fraternity brothers and I were enjoying each other's company, cracking jokes, talking about girls, and sipping drinks. However, our evening took a dark turn when Kevin introduced the topic of scary stories. Egged on by each other, we decided to explore the abandoned hospital near our college, left empty since World War II and rumored to be haunted. Despite documented paranormal activity there, we locals were dismissive of such claims, believing them to be merely rumors. Looking back, we were naive. On that fateful night, as we ventured forth, we had no idea that this decision would lead to the most terrifying experience of our lives. As we arrived at the hospital, we were all eager to start our adventure, but Frankie, one of our drivers, got scared and wanted to leave. Despite our attempts to convince him to stay, he insisted on leaving. Since there were only 5 of us left, we could all fit into my car. So, we continued our exploration. As we entered the lobby, a gust of wind sent shivers down our spines, and a sudden silence swept over us. Quickly, we headed down the hallway, and as we crept through the dusty halls, we couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. The first room we came across was a restroom, and we all suddenly had the urge to pee. When we went inside, the chilly air sent shivers down our spines, and the musty smell made us feel uneasy. The light from our flashlights flickered ominously, casting eerie shadows on the walls. Looking outside, we saw Frankie standing under a tree about 20 feet away, seemingly lost. We tried to call him, but he didn't respond. Feeling uneasy staying in the small, smelly restroom with only 2 stalls, I decided to run out and call Frankie back to join us on the adventure. As I stepped outside, the wind picked up, causing the trees to rustle and creating an eerie sound. I called out to Frankie, but he didn't respond. Instead, he stood motionless. Thinking he was playing a prank on us, I walked closer to him, but as I got nearer, I realized something was wrong. Frankie's eyes were dark and hollow, and his skin was as pale as a sheet. I called out to him again, but he just stood there, staring at me with an empty expression. "Hey, Frankie," I asked again, hoping to break the silence that had settled between us. He didn't reply with words, but instead pointed to the ground, revealing a hidden bottle of water in the grass. "Are you thirsty, Frankie?" I asked. He nodded, and I handed him the bottle. He eagerly opened it and drank it all. I couldn't help but feel worried about his odd behavior, but I watched as he finished the bottle. Once he was done, Frankie gave me a shivering smile and said, "Thank you, I will help you." As I was wondering what was he saying, suddenly, a cold gust of wind blew past me, and I felt a hand grab my shoulder. I turned around, but no one was there. But, to my horror, I realized that the restroom my friends were supposed to be in had transformed into a graveyard. Instead of peeing in the urinal, they were peeing into gravestones. I stood frozen in terror, trying to make sense of what was happening. Suddenly, Kevin, Alan, George, and Pete's bodies jolted and twisted unnaturally. Their limbs contorted, their jaws unhinged, and blood dripped from their mouths as they stumbled towards me. I wanted to scream, but no sound escaped my trembling lips. I was paralyzed with fear, not knowing what to do. As they drew closer, I realized I needed to run. But just as I turned around, I saw Frankie standing there, dressed as a samurai with very badass samurai sword in both hands, poised to fight the zombies. As I watched in amazement, Frankie charged towards the zombified Kevin, Alan, George, and Pete. 1 versus 4 may have seemed like an unfair battle, but samurai were much faster and stronger than zombies. I saw Frankie defeat all 4 of them with ease, leaving me in shock. As he approached me, Frankie raised his hand and indicated that he wanted to give me a high five because we had won. I lightly touched his hand, but then suddenly, I felt dizzy and fainted. The world around me spun as I lost consciousness. 2 days had passed before I regained consciousness. As I slowly opened my eyes, I realized that I was lying in a hospital bed. As I tried to sit up, I suddenly felt a sharp tug on my wrists, and that's when I realized that they were cuffed to the railing. The nurse looked at me with a somber expression and informed me that Kevin, George, and Pete had been brutally murdered the night of the incident, and Alan was still in critical condition in the ICU. The police arrived, and it dawned on me that I was the prime suspect for the murders and the attack. Desperately, I tried to explain what had happened and informed the police that Frankie was the one responsible for the horrific events. However, to my surprise, they couldn't find any record of someone by that name. Months later, I found myself in court, declared guilty for the crime. It was Alan who betrayed me, testifying that I had lost my mind after escaping the unbearable stench of the restroom. According to him, I had gone on a violent rampage upon returning. What made it worse was that Frankie, with his wealthy father and political connections, had erased his identity and framed me. The government was so corrupt that they helped a crook like him. Frankie was the one who lost it. Alan was zombified. How could he possibly remember anything? It was unbelievable that I was being held responsible for something that wasn't my doing. Kevin, Alan, George, and Pete were the ones who turned into zombies after peeing on the gravestone, not me. I was the nice guy. I provided Frankie a drink. The truth was that I was the victim, not the culprit. Sorry. My rant has to stop here. My nurse is coming. She will take away my radio. I believe she's secretly working with the FBI to keep me detained for as long as possible. They don't want me to tell the truth, and I'm desperate for your help. I've pleaded with anyone who is listening to this. Come and save me. I know I'm innocent. As I wait for my fate to be decided, all I can do is hope that someone will come and rescue me from this psychiatric asylum.